Hey, what's up, guys? Manga Archives here. Hope everyone is doing great out there. At least better than we are over here in the East Coast because we just got hit with a very bad snowstorm, which didn't stop me from having to go to work. But anyway, we're here to talk about Eden Zero Chapter 128, which was amazing, so let's just jump right into the chapter. So the cover illustration for this week's chapter, which is a nice picture of Hermit with her back turned towards us and her head slightly turning to face us. Like I said, it was just a nice simple image of her, and basically it seems like Hiro really likes to draw Hermit, Sister, and Witch for the cover images, which makes sense for this chapter at least because Hermit was kind of the main focus of the chapter, so it makes sense that he would actually put her for the cover image for this week's chapter. And in fact, now that I think about it, it's the same thing with last week's because Sister was kind of the main focus a little bit, at least in the beginning of the chapter, and she was also the one who was on the cover image. Now, the beginning part of the chapter was actually a lot of fun. We started off basically picking up with Shiki, Rebecca, Homura, Pino Happy, and that little girl, and Master Zenilith, who's still currently unconscious, basically all running for their lives while Planet Foresta is exploding around them. And as they're basically just running for their lives, drones are attacking them, and we get these nice action shots where all three characters basically get a moment where they actually get to take out a few drones. And like I said, they're just really cool action shots. The way that Hiro drew each scene of each character basically just taking out a few drones, you could actually see the motion in the artwork as it's going by. Like, especially when you have Homura taking out the drones with her sword while she's riding on the back of the bike that Rebecca's driving. As you're reading through the panels and you see basically Homura just taking out the drones and Rebecca turning the bike so that Homura can have an easier access to slicing at the drones, you can actually really feel the motion and the movement of the comic. And you can also get that same kind of sense of motion when you get the scene with Shiki taking out the drones, with basically just him hopping around using his gravity ether gear to kick at the drones while he's carrying Master Zenilith, and then going immediately back from kicking the drones to flipping around, and then continuing to fly away to safety. I would honestly say that the most boring moment in that entire sequence was when Rebecca takes out her drone, and that's only because she only takes out a single drone with a single kick. If she had actually taken out more drones, I feel like that would have been a lot better for her, but since she only gets to one drone to take out with a single kick, it is the most boring one of the three, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that it actually is actually boring. It's just the most boring one. It's still an exciting scene, and you can really see and sense the movement in these panels. We even have that little girl who's basically just been hanging around them this entire time, being shocked and surprised and excited by seeing these characters take out all these drones. Which, by the way, we have a moment where Shiki actually addresses the little girl and asks, "Hey, what's up with her?" And I feel like, again, we are putting so much attention to this little girl. Hero's putting so much attention to her being with them right now that there's no point to do any of this if she isn't actually going to be a member of the crew going forward. Like, if they're not taking her with her or with them off Planet Foresta, then there's no real reason for her to be getting this much spotlight, this much attention. She could have just been a character that Rebecca saved and then had to go hide somewhere after saving her. But since she's been with them this entire time, and since Shiki's actually acknowledged her and basically asked who she is, and it's in the same sequence when they're asking, hey, who is Master Zenilith? Someone we know is definitely going to be a major character going forward. It really leads me to think that this little girl is going to be part of the crew going forward. And since I honestly think they are going to be bringing her with them on their journey, at this point, Hiro just give her a name so I can stop addressing her as little girl and actually start addressing her as something. And then after that, we cut away over to the main focus of the chapter, which is basically over at the satellite, where we have Hermit using her hacking ability to try to basically bypass not only the destruction or the doomsday device that Dr. Muller activated in the last chapter, but also the virus that he has activated on all the robots, turning them hostile. But unfortunately, she can't actually get through Dr. Muller's encryptions, or at least she's having a hard time doing it. And she actually needs Laguna there to basically be her cooling system in case she ends up overheating, to basically kind of like keep her able to continue working, because it is actually that hard for her to bypass Dr. Muller's defenses. It's actually kind of funny and heartwarming at the same time, because we get this moment after we immediately go to the satellite and find out that Hermit is the one actually trying to hack away at the satellite and not Wise. He asks, well, I mean, why am I here then? Wasn't the whole point of me being here to use my ability to basically kind of try to stop the satellite? And that's actually, I believe, what Hermit told him back when they first arrived at the satellite, or when they're on their way there. But apparently she says that no, your hacking ability is nowhere near capable of taking this out. I'm the only one who could possibly handle this. And then when he asks, okay, so why am I here then? She reveals, well, you're here in case I get corrupted by the virus to kill me. And at first the scene's played up for last because you get Wise, who gets really flustered and upset by the fact that that's his only purpose here, to basically just be a tool to destroy her in case she actually goes crazy. And she says, well, yeah, of course that's the reason why you're here. I trust you that much that I'm willing to put my life in your hands. So again, it was actually a kind of cute moment, and really you see the budding friendship, budding romance, whatever you want to call it, between these characters really developing in this arc. Like, we've seen more interaction and more development between these two characters in their relationship than we have through anyone else in this entire arc, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm also starting to see a little bit of development on Wise's attitude towards at least Laguna, because it doesn't seem like he actually is holding any ill will towards him in this chapter. Or at least he doesn't seem to like have any reserves or like basically any complaints about Laguna being the one to cool Hermit down in case she actually overheats. It seems like he's trusting him enough to basically do this job, which is a big contrast to the Wise we had even just a few chapters ago, who even by Laguna being there, he would have been voicing his complaints and basically just showing a bunch of disdain towards him. Then we end up finding out that Dr. Muller actually isn't dead just yet. He actually has like a little robot arms and legs built into his head so that he can move around even when his body's destroyed. And he's pretty much spent the entire chapter just kind of pleading with Hermit to save his life, basically try to spare him. And I'll be honest with you guys, when I saw Dr. Muller was still alive in this chapter, I was a little bit upset and at the same time happy. I was upset because I just wanted the character dead because I really do not like this character. But at the same time, I was happy because like, alright, so he's still alive. That means Hermit has her chance to basically be the one to kill him. Which unfortunately doesn't end up happening. Even though Hermit does knock him out in this chapter, she just basically punches him. She doesn't kill him, or at least it doesn't look like he's dead. He seems to be still alive by the end of the chapter, but at the very least she got her basically revenge on him and has moved past her trauma that revolved around him. And speaking of trauma, during their conversation when he's basically pleading for her life, she mentions the fact, or no, I think it's actually Wise who mentions the fact that Dr. Muller mutilated and tortured and caused the trauma that Klein and Jen have went through their entire lives. And in that moment when they're mentioning that trauma, we should get to see over in Klein's memories where her sister currently is. And she basically uses her ability to delete Klein's memories, like so basically the entire traumatic event that Klein went through, sister basically just deletes it in order to fix her. And we actually get to see in real life that the real Klein is actually breathing better now. She's calmed down. She's not having basically the traumatic panic attack that she was in the previous few chapters. Honestly, I gotta say that sister deleting the memories in this chapter was probably my least favorite part of the chapter. In fact, I would say that overall, this entire storyline of Klein's trauma ended up being my least favorite part of the entire arc, just because Hero didn't really take the time to develop it properly. I really feel like that we needed an entire chapter just dealing with the memories alone, basically going through them, seeing exactly what Dr. Muller did to cause Klein's problems, seeing the development of her basically just having a mental breakdown and seeing how that affected her life and her memories. Like, I agree, the best way to fix it was the solution that sister came up with, but still, I would have liked to see an entire chapter dealing with the trauma instead of basically just having it dealt with in a few pages or like a page and a few panels. But hey, since Dr. Muller most likely is still alive, we could potentially end up seeing him later on in future arcs, and that could actually potentially lead us back to this plotline. Even though Klein doesn't remember the trauma that she went through anymore because sister deleted the memories, that doesn't mean that Jin doesn't remember. He still has the trauma from what happened to him in the past. So even if we don't get to basically see the resolution for Klein when it comes to confronting Dr. Muller, potentially we could see in the future Jin confront him and basically defeat him as revenge for what he did to him. And then really the last thing to talk about in the chapter is the fake out that Hermit gave Dr. Muller by basically making him think she was going to forgive him, but she was only using that like moment of weakness that he had to basically use her ability to get his retinas so she can actually bypass the final encryption. So she was playing him the entire time, which I found incredibly hilarious, and I found it really, really rewarding to see his character basically just be played with and then tossed aside like yesterday's trash. And again, that punch she gave him at the end of the chapter, man, I would prefer that she killed him personally, but that punch was well deserved and I really, really enjoyed seeing it. Now, even though for the most part this chapter was very feel good and action packed, it does kind of leave off on a sour note because at the end of the chapter, once we find out that the planet is no longer being destroyed and that Hermit's basically reversed the programming of the virus so that the robots are going back to normal and they're no longer trying to kill all humans, we kind of end things on a note from Rebecca, Shiki, and Homeroom where they're kind of like, I don't want to say reminiscing, but I think the right word is kind of like recanting or kind of like just looking back on the fact that so many people have died during this arc, not only humans but robots as well, and there's no way they're ever going to come back to life from this, and this is kind of like a lesson that they had to learn, that bad things happen and people die. And to make this ending even more heartbreaking, the final panel that we get that shows off one of the dead characters from this arc is actually of the robot that the little girl is looking for. Basically her friend who tried to warn Shiki, Rebecca, and Homura about what's going on the planet right before Mora killed him. But yeah guys, that's it for this week's chapter. It looks like we're finally at the end of this whole entire Planet Foresta arc. Now we just basically just need to go through the epilogue because all the plot threads for this arc are done. The only thing that's left is basically what's going to be happening with this little girl. Are they going to be able to find her family members, which potentially they already could be dead? We did see confirmed in this chapter at the end that humans did die on this arc. So potentially this girl's parents could be dead. So we're going to end up finding out what's going to happen with her in the next chapter or two. Is she going to end up becoming a member of the crew, or are they basically just going to find someone to take care of her and then leave the planet forever? But that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.